Hello, beautiful people out there. I am so pleased that you are joining me. I just wanted to share a few thoughts on books I have read this month in September of 2018. It was another great and kind of diverse month for me. I try to break it up. I've been setting a goal the past couple years now, reading through the classics and getting people's recommendations. So if you have a favorite classic, I would love for you to list it in the comments. I am very much listening to other people's suggestions. My son, who's 17, recommended the first one, Fahrenheit 451, which I had never read. And he had to read for school, and he said this is the only required reading that he actually enjoyed. So that was a pretty high endorsement, and I did enjoy it. It's very kind of feels like 1984 or Brave New World, both of which I had read, but this one is the premise of the future where the society is controlling history by destroying it, and the firemen are in charge of burning particularly books and things of historical nature. So that's the premise of that book, and it's very interesting and a good, easy, quick read. I also, speaking of good, easy, quick reads, read another Elin Hilderbrand. This is Silver Girl. I was not on vacation in October at all, but I bought this on vacation in Boston bookstore. It was on clearance for $5. So I had picked this up on vacation, and I thought, I'm gonna go ahead and read another one just because it's light, easy, and fun, and it was a great story. This one, she's called Silver Girl because of a song that her dad used to sing for her, and then how that comes back into play, dealing with her past and going through a divorce and kind of reclaiming her life with a kind of mysterious murder kind of deal going on the island of Nantucket. So the next classic I read was also one that my son had read, The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. I had not read this. Another quick, easy read for a classic, and I enjoyed it. This is the one that I think they were doing the radio broadcast of it, and people actually thought that aliens were invading us because they didn't break into the radio broadcast enough. It was that kind of story that just kind of reads as if it's a news story talking about these aliens that are coming down and taking over, and people running for their lives and trying to figure it out kind of thing. So, and I won't give away the ending, but it's pretty predictable, I guess is the word I'm looking for. The next book I want to give a shout out. This is Caraval by Stephanie Garber, and it is the first in a series. This is in the young adult section, and I think there's only 2 in the series though. It's Caravel, and there's one out called Legendary, which I believe I just bought at Books A Million, and so I look forward to reading the second one. This one, if you like Night Circus, and I think it reminded me a lot of that book I read last month about Mr. Limoncello's library, where there was a bunch of kids that went to the library and had to solve puzzles to escape from the library. So it's kind of like that. It's one of those kind of Willy Wonka, there's a contest going on type of adventures, but it's very much like the magic and the overtones that take place in Night Circus, which was my favorite book that I read just a couple years ago, although it's a much older book than that now. So this one is another one, really easy to read, young adult. I would recommend that one also for teenagers since it is meant for them. The next one that, I'm sorry, that was also recommended by Elsa, and I will link her channel below. She also recommended this one, which she adored and went on and on about, and Darken. I saw several booktubers that had reviewed this, so I picked it up. And if you've watched Game of Thrones, I'm just going to, if you haven't watched Game of Thrones, this might not be as helpful, but I watched Game of Thrones, and so every time I went to pick this book up, sometimes even out loud, I would start doing the little dun 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 dun. And Arya Stark, that's who I pictured every time I was thinking about the heroine of this story. It's a teenage girl starts out, she is taking the place of Vlad the Impaler, an actual historical figure, and the author has taken the liberty to change that character to female, and so it is historical fiction on the Ottoman Empire and that kind of period of conquering the Ottoman Empire, but it's obviously a lot of sidelines that maybe could have happened that way, but mostly it's a good entertaining kind of read if you like the Game of Thrones and that kind of fictional world. This is really good. I will read, there's 2 more in this series, so I will read them. It's worthy. I will read it. And the last one, which also kind of had to have some theme music, was Persuasion by Jane Austen. I had read Sense and Sensibility, and I'm just going to confess, I'm not a huge Jane Austen fan. I appreciate her, and I particularly love the style of writing. I feel very much like I am reading Downton Abbey. I really love that series. So if you like Downton Abbey, you will probably like Jane Austen's writing, and well, you'll definitely like her writing, maybe not as much as stories. I don't think her stories are quite as good as Downton Abbey, and maybe that's sacrilegious to say for those who love the classics and love Jane Austen. I have not read all of hers. I have only read Sense and Sensibility, and this is Persuasion. So that's kind of my disclaimer. I will read her other ones. I'm just not so excited, so I may not read them right away, but I will read them. I do appreciate them, and I think her writing style is just beautiful, just beautiful. So the last review of September was my audiobook, Big Little Lies. It was a fantastic story to listen to as I drove in the car to North Carolina and back. The premise is there has been an incident, and it'll keep backing up and saying 6 months prior to the incident, and you don't even know what's happened. And pretty quickly you realize that someone's dead. But because the whole story is flashback, you know that one of these characters that you're learning about and following is dead. And you know that one of these characters that you're learning and following is probably responsible for the death. So you're trying to figure out exactly what's going on back and forth and with the characters, and it centers around 3 particular women, each who have had troubling relationships in the past, and they become friends and they start opening up and sharing that, and that's where the Big Little Lies comes in, and it's just a stunning book. And I look forward, I went and Netflixed the TV series because now it has Reese Witherspoon and Nicole Kidman. So I really look forward to seeing the TV series and seeing how it compares to that. But I wanted to read that book, so I listened to it. And for an audiobook, it was fantastic. I will probably do some more audiobooks. So I appreciate your time. I hope that maybe some of this has inspired you to grab a book and maybe a cup of tea or coffee and curl up. And if you have any recommendations, particularly something that maybe sounded similar to what I described that I liked, give me a recommendation. I'm always looking for what other people suggest for me. I do have some books picked out for November. It's nonfiction November. So I have a couple nonfiction as well as a couple more classics and a couple more that I just want to read for fun, including the second one in the Illuminae series. So I will do a review of those for the ones that I get through in November. Y'all have a blessed day.